Hey Mary, do you want some help with those bags? I looked up from the sacks I was rearranging, trying to better distribute the weight, to see John next to me, holding out empty hands. Sometimes the others dismissed him for his young age and didn't trust him to assist with tasks, but I had noticed his strong body and eager spirit, and had been trying to give him useful things to do. In turn, he paid attention to how much extra work I carried when most of the older apprentices didn't. I smiled at John and handed him the bag of fresh vegetables, and together we stepped into the back of the line, following Jesus into Capernaum. The village was only a 2-hour walk from my hometown of Magdala, so I had visited frequently. This was my first time going since I had become one of Jesus' apprentices, and I was curious to see how the people would receive us. This time I wasn't coming on my own business interests, but on Jesus's. He was gaining a reputation as an authoritative teacher and miracle worker. We were heading to Peter's home, where his wife and her mother were going to make dinner and bedrolls for us, hence my bags of food, supplies for our hostesses. Voices at the front of the line caught my attention, but I couldn't hear what they were saying. I edged closer, around the line of people that was becoming a circle. The man speaking to Jesus, loud and fast, I recognized as one of the local synagogue leaders. But I must be misunderstanding him. "John," I whispered, "did he just say he's come at the bidding of a Gentile?" John, who stood a head and a half taller than me, leaned in and listened. "Worse," he said, eyes wide, "a Roman soldier." As the other apprentices squished in closer, we did too, finally able to catch the words in time to hear Andrew's question. "What madness is this, Jonathan? Why are you advocating for a centurion?" The synagogue leader replied, "He's a good man. He deserves the help. He really does. He's good to us, our people. Our synagogue, you know it well. He builds it for us." The synagogue Jesus taught in regularly. I wondered if Jesus knew a Roman had built the synagogue. I couldn't see his face through the sea of shoulders in front of me. The leader continued, his voice growing more urgent. "Please, the servant is his own personal assistant. The centurion says he would be lost without him. He begged us to come get you to heal him. His condition is getting worse by the moment. He can't even get up to walk anymore. The doctor says he's dying." The group thinned back into a line as our friends streamed forward. Jesus must have decided to go with the man. I wondered where exactly we were going and what would happen when we got there. Of course our master wouldn't break taboo by entering a Gentile home. And hadn't he told us multiple times that he had come to us, to Israel, not the outsiders? We had seen Jesus heal people in crowds, outdoors, but if this sick servant couldn't be moved, what would Jesus do? As we walked along the road, the dust dampened down by the brief rain shower this morning, I picked up my pace to get closer to the front so I wouldn't be stuck at the back when we arrived. We meandered away from the edge of the Sea of Galilee and further into town toward the garrison. We turned a corner and saw a man striding toward us, dressed in a red tunic and a white cape off one shoulder, and the most expensive sandals I had ever seen. A centurion. He halted by Jonathan, who pointed to Jesus. The Roman greeted him with respect. Jesus questioned him. "You want me to come into your home and heal your servant?" The apprentices around Jesus murmured to each other. The centurion gestured in deference. "Of course not. No, I don't deserve the honor of your coming into my home, and I don't want to cause you any trouble that might bring upon you. Simply speak the order, and I believe my assistant will be healed." Speak at a distance for healing? Who had ever heard of such a thing? I expected Jesus to laugh at the absurdity, perhaps even to send the man away for his audacity. But Jesus still listened. The centurion went on. "Just like you, I am under authority, and I hold authority. If I tell a soldier to jump, he asks me how high. Just give the order, if you will, and heal my servant." I was close enough to see Jesus' face. His eyebrows were high and his eyes bright. His mouth had dropped open. He said nothing, but his thoughts were churning rapidly. His thoughts were churning if his rapidly changing expressions were reflecting them. Suddenly, he did laugh, but it wasn't the derisive laugh I expected. It was warm, genuine. "Never," he said, "never have I ever seen this kind of faith in all of Israel." He turned to look at us and Jonathan. "You lot are supposed to know God, to understand how God works, but this outsider knows better than any Israelite who I am and what I'm here to do." His smile was wide, incredulous. I can't believe it. I cannot believe how well he believes. He understands the promise to Abraham that the outsiders will become the insiders at God's final dinner party. Jesus grasped the man firmly on his shoulder. "Go home. You believed it, and it has happened. Your servant is well." The centurion's eyes shimmered and he swallowed hard. Thank you, he said, grabbing Jesus' hands and squeezing them. He hurried away. Jesus just stood there shaking his head. Astounding. Oh, the surprises of my Father's business. He turned and walked toward Peter's house, and we followed him, looking at each other with silent questions.